Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Recovery Classroom. My name is Drew. I am an alcoholic, and today I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I cannot be any more grateful. Before my keen intellectual alcoholic mind forgets, because I know I will, again, I'm an alcoholic, I just want to take a second and wish you guys a very happy, safe, healthy, clean, and sober holiday season. I know Christmas is tomorrow, so I want to take advantage and tell you now before I forget, because I know tomorrow's going to be busy. That's fair. But I also want to say thank you guys for letting me come in and share each and every day with you. We're coming up on 2 years of doing these monologues on the Recovery Classroom page, and it's just been so rewarding, the feedback, and it's humbling, really humbling. So thank you guys. It's interesting. I get to go back and I can look at all the different topics that have come in over the last couple of years. And with that being said, given that tomorrow is, of course, Christmas, I thought a topic that's worthwhile to discuss today. It's a topic that has come up an awful lot, especially in the crosstalk meetings, and that's on triggers. Now, before I go any further, let me give you this disclaimer. Everything I'm going to share with you today is just my own personal thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that I have acquired over the course of my journey about triggers. That doesn't make it true for everybody. It doesn't mean it's applicable to everybody. These are just things that I have observed and come to believe over my recovery journey. So I wanted to share them with you today in the hopes that they may help you for tomorrow. First and foremost, triggers for me. Again, I've come to believe now that triggers are nothing more than excuses for me to resume or continue my self-destructive behavior. I think back to my past and all the years that I would try to get sober and I'd do good for about 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 3 or 4 months, and then some situation would pop up and it would trigger me. And let's be clear, again, I would call it trigger because it was easy, it sounded better. But at the end of the day, it was nothing more than an excuse. I didn't need an excuse whenever I was drinking. I would try to justify and rationalize my behavior to people. Well, it's sunny outside, so it's a good day to drink. Or it's rainy outside. It's just a sad, depressed, gloomy day, so it's a good day to drink. I would always come up with every fucking excuse in the book to drink when I didn't need to, because, again, my alcoholism would just want me to drink. And it would look for everything. And so whenever I'd get clean and sober, it was like, okay, well, he's doing good, so now we got to come up with a new term. We got to come up with a pretty pink bow and put a pretty pink bow on this excuse and call it something different. Some way he can categorically identify and take the responsibility off of his shoulders. And that way, if he did slip, if he did go back into the madness, well, it wasn't his fault. I called that a trigger. That's exactly what. And so I when I dive into that a little bit deeper, there's 2 types of triggers. There's 2 things that can, or 2 types of excuses, I should say, for me anyway, that I've noticed over my personal experience. One is excuses from people, and especially going into the holidays tomorrow, I want to talk about that. And then the other is excuses from memories. And I want to start with the people first. Going into the holidays, there could be people that you're going to associate with tomorrow, maybe family members, friends, loved ones, it doesn't matter. That some people that you may disagree with, people that may be angry at you, and you could be facing a lot of fear and apprehension and anxiety around facing these people. I get that, but I want to pause right here and tell you, more often than not, when it comes to excuses, triggers, and excuses from other people, more often than not, all of these other people, it's because I had a disagreement with them. A disagreement. Maybe they didn't agree with my behavior and they're pissed off at me for it. Maybe it's justified on their behalf. Maybe they're justified in being pissed off at my behavior. Maybe it's something they said that I'm pissed off about that I just don't agree with. And I think at the end of the day, especially in today of all time periods, I think we have forgot the ability, the art of disagreeing with people. You're allowed to have your opinion. I tell people all the time in crosstalk, you're allowed to say, "Fuck you, Drew. I'm okay with it. It doesn't hurt my feelings," because I respect the ability for you to have your own opinion. I respect the ability for other people to have their own opinions, even though I may not agree with them. And I seem to see that a lot when it comes to triggers. People, they say, "Well, I had to be around this person in my family, and that caused me to go back out." Well, what's wrong with that person? Well, this person and I got into this disagreement. There you go. See, we forgot the art of being able to disagree with people respectfully. Sure. Now, again, in some cases, there may be events where I did, maybe somebody didn't agree with my behaviors and I did hurt them and they have a right to be pissed off. Well, that's an opportunity for me to go and say, look, you know what? I know I fucked up. Let me make it up to you. Let me show you. And as you work through a 12-step program, you will get to that point. It's around step 9, making amends. I encourage you to reach out to your sponsor and discuss that process thoroughly with them before you try to do that. Absolutely. But it's okay to be in the same room with somebody that you disagree with. It's okay to disagree with somebody entirely. The other form of the excuse, the trigger, if you will, is the memory. Doing certain things that generated memories of you back whenever you were drinking or drugging, back when you were using. Great example, I had a tree fall down in my house a couple years ago. I was outside chopping wood, and I remembered, it's like the muscle memory came back to how I used to drink every time I chopped firewood. And it was just really stark, it's like, oh my God, I clearly remember the feeling. I remember drinking every time I used to chop firewood and cut up firewood and stack the wood and get ready for winter. I remembered that. I remember going to baseball games. Every time I'd go to a baseball game, I had to have a drink. Had to have, a bottle stashed under the back seat of my truck. I had to have a bottle ready to go to celebrate or to drown my sorrows in losing a game. So there's triggers and excuses that we look for with people, typically, more often than not, because we disagree with them. And then there's triggers and excuses we look for. Our brain will create an association. Hey, Matt, last time you did this, last time you were driving on this road, you were drinking. Last time you were in this building, you were drinking. Last time you came to this place, you were looking to buy a bottle. So there's triggers and excuses that are generated with people, and then there's just triggers and excuses that our brain generates. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this. It's our fucking thinking. Again, the book is very clear. We don't have a drinking or drugging problem. We've got a thinking problem. And so what I try to do now is whenever I see situations like that, or I know I'm getting ready to meet somebody that I may have a disagreement with, that I'm feeling nervous and anxious and might be giving me an excuse, I start talking to somebody. Hell, a lot of times I'll go talk to that person and just try to make cordial, casual conversation with them. But I find somebody else. Or if I think it's going to be too much talking to that person, I try to find somebody else, like my sponsor or another member of the fellowship of recovery, to talk to, because they understand. When I start doing things that remind me of the days of which I was drinking, I get on the phone with somebody. I go talk to somebody. Another tactic that I use, especially when it comes to the memory issue of triggers, the memory side of triggers, when I look and see that I used to do something that when I used to do something I was drinking, I would stop and remind myself, now it's time for me to make new memories. Now it's time for me to come up with new memories for my body and my brain to remember instead of associating it back to this old self-destructive behavior. At the end of the day, I want to encourage you, when you think you're coming up with your trigger is arising, first and foremost, identify it as an excuse for you to go back to your old way of life. And if it's a trigger resulting from having to face somebody, keep this in mind too. That person may be expecting you to fail. That person may be expecting you to go back to that old way of life. And for me, that's all the more reason, because I'm a stubborn son of a bitch. But for me, that's all the more reason for me to make sure I don't go back to that old way of life. Because if nothing else, if I don't owe it to that person that I may be apprehensive and fearful of meeting and talking to, I owe it to myself. So with that being said, I'll let you guys go. Thank you guys for letting me come in and share 5 to 10 minutes of your day with you. You guys absolutely keep me sober, and I cannot be any more appreciative. If there's a topic you'd like to hear discussed on these monologues, feel free to drop it in an email to me, Drew, D-R-E-W, at recoveryclassroom.org. I'll take a look at it, see what we can do. We'll be talking again soon tomorrow on Christmas Day. Remember, guys, you can't get drunk if you don't take that first drink.